All right, lads, so this is the 2019 ratio analysis. So we're just going doing part A here, which is literally just the first part ratios. So it goes without saying this is worth 50 marks. Okay, now time frame we're looking at roughly between, honestly, you'll probably be looking 10-15 minutes to get this part done. Okay, which shouldn't be too bad. No, so if we just start in, we'll just go through all the ratios first. Right, first one there is we see it cash sales if the period of credit given to debtors is 1.5 months. So this is just using your basic mathematical skills, okay? So obviously you haven't done it in a while, so the ratios don't get started or anything like that. So you're going to take this down as you see it, okay? So obviously we're doing the first one, and it's cash sales of credit given to debtors. So basically we want to see how long it'll take our debtors to repay us, okay? So this is always going to be done, right? So we're looking for a credit sales figure. Okay? So we're looking for cash sales, okay? So we're being asked for cash sales. Now, in the question here, we're not given anything regarding cash sales. All we're given here, if we look up the top, is our total sales, okay? So we're given we're looking for cash sales, and we're given our total sales figure, okay? Now, debtors obviously goes without saying that it's for a credit transaction, okay? So the formula is as follows: debtors over credit sales multiplied by 12, because there's 12 months in the year, and in the question here it states that it's for 1.5 months, okay? So equals 1.5, okay, for months, right? So basically we're looking for this figure here. No, we're not given it, okay? So we have to calculate to try and work it back. Okay, no, we are given our debtors figure, okay? And our debtors figure is just given there in the transaction, 78,000. Okay, so 78,000 over. So we don't know our credit sales figure, so we're just going to call it X for this sec. Okay, and we're going to multiply that by 12. Why? Because there's 12 months in the year. That's just the formula, and it equals 1.5 months. So fill in everything that we can see. So we can't do it with the bottom line. Top line, 78,000 multiplied by 12. Okay, and that gives us 936. So 936 over X equals 1.5. Okay, so basic mathematical skills here mean that you're going to leave the X, and then the 936,000 is going to be divided by 1.5. So X equals 936 divided by 1.5. So X in this case, lads, is going to be a total of 624,000. 624. Okay, 624,000. This figure represents credit sales, right? What are we being asked for? Cash sales, okay? So obviously, credit sales and cash sales equals our total sales figure. Now, we're given our total sales, okay? So if we look back here in the question, we're given our total sales of 960,000. Okay, so 960 is our total sales. Now, we also have our credit sales, okay? So if we take our credit sales, that has to leave us with our total remaining cash sales. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So 960, which is given in the question, minus the 624. And that gives us cash sales of the amount of 336,000 euros. 336. Excellent. That's it. Job done. Okay, first one done. Right? No hassle. Move straight on to the second one then. Okay, right, next one. Dividend yield. Okay, so, right, to get this out of the way fast. You cannot calculate your dividend yield until you calculate your dividend per share. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll open it up and we'll write it down. Okay, II, dividend yield. And we'll write down the formula. So if you want to take this down, I'd recommend you do. So formula is dividend per share per ordinary share. Okay, over market price per ordinary share. So market price is just the selling price, okay, per share. Multiplied by 100, okay? And our dividend yield, lads, is always going to be given in a percentage, okay? So the rate of percent. Now, we do not know this figure, but we do know our market price, okay? And where my market price is, if I get the question up here, market value of one ordinary share is €1.35. Write it down. Okay, so basically, I don't know my top line, but I do know my bottom line. Okay, so it's 135. Okay, multiplied by 100 equals. Now, I don't know this. Okay, so what do I have to calculate? My dividend per ordinary share. Okay, so there's a formula for it. If you were being asked to calculate the dividend yield, lads, you will always have to calculate your dividend per share. All right, so the formula is as follows. Ordinary dividend all over your number of ordinary shares issued. Okay, excellent. Right, number of ordinary shares issued. Okay, multiplied by 100, and obviously dividend per share is going to be given in a numerical value. Okay, so obviously cent, whatever, how many cent. Ordinary dividend. Okay. Now, what is an ordinary dividend, you may ask? Okay, and an ordinary dividend, when you pay dividends, it's split. Okay, so you've got preference dividend and you've got ordinary dividend, right? So, in the question here, we have a total amount of dividends paid, right? And it's for the amount of 55,000 euros. That 55,000 euros is split between ordinary dividend and preference dividend. Okay? Now, I need to find my ordinary dividend. Now, I'm not told what it is, but what I am told is that I have got 8% preference shares of 250,000 euros. Okay? So, that's the first thing that I'm going to do. So, I don't know what my ordinary dividend is just yet. Okay? But what I do know is I know my dividends paid figure, which is taken from up the top here. Okay, so dividends paid, 55,000. Okay. Right, now, remember I said there was 8% preference shares. Okay, so it's 250,000 preference shares multiplied by 8%, and that gives us 20,000 euros. So, dividends paid minus my preference dividend gives me my ordinary dividend. So my ordinary dividend in this case is 35,000 euros. Okay, so if I slot that figure back up here, 35,000 over the number of ordinary shares issued, which in this instance is going to be a total of 500,000, should give me a cent figure. Okay, and in this instance the value is 7 cent. Okay, sorry, and then multiply by 100 equals 7 cent. Is that okay? This figure slots back up here because I was originally looking to calculate my dividend yield. So 7 divided by 135. Now be careful that you do not put it €1.35. 7 cent has to be divided by 135 cent. Multiplied by 100 gives you a total rate of percent of 5.19%. Is that okay? You cannot calculate this without this. How do you find this? You go to your dividends paid figure, take away your preference dividend, and that gives you your ordinary dividend figure. This is essential. You are going to need to calculate this for the majority of your working, so we'll use it again now in 2 seconds. Moving on to the next one, dividend cover. Okay, right, next one, dividend cover. Okay, dividend cover indicates the proportion of earnings retained by the business. Okay, it shows the level of risk to dividends in the future years. Okay, so obviously dividend cover is going to be given in times. Okay, so how many times? Right, so 3, and the formula is as follows. Okay, and the formula is as follows. Net profit minus preference dividend, which we just calculated here already, all over your ordinary dividend. Again, which we've just calculated here. Right, so we've very little calculations to do here. So, net profit, if we go to the, here we've got net profit for the year, 90,000 euros. Okay, 90,000 minus our preference dividend of 20,000, all over 35,000 euros. And if you don't know where I'm getting those figures, 90,000 is net profit, which I showed you. 20,000 euros represents my preference dividend, and the 35, all over 35,000 represents my ordinary dividend. So again, lads, you need to know the formulas in order to be able to slot the figures in. And in this case, my dividend cover, if you slot that formula into the calculator, you should get 2 times. okay? So it's given in times, okay? The higher the better, okay? So the more times you can cover it, the better it is for the business. Right, that's your dividend cover. After that, then we have got our return on capital employed. Right, so if I flick over the page, right, return on capital employed. 2 seconds, no. So it should be compared when the return of risk-free investment. So you need to, the keywords there, lads, are risk-free investments. Okay, so we're up on 10 minutes, I need to march through this now. Okay, IV, return on capital employed. And the formula is as follows. Net profit before interest. If it's before interest, you need to add back on your interest. Okay? All over capital employed. Multiply by 100, and your return on capital employed is for risk-free investments has to be given as a percentage, lads. Okay, right. So go to now, slot in the figures, right? Net profit here, finish 90,000 euros. Okay. Right? That figure is after interest. Okay? Where's my interest? Here. I need to add on the interest. Okay? Obviously, to get my net profit, I need to take away my interest. But the formula is net profit and interest, okay? Plus 15,000. All over capital employed. What is your capital employed? Where do we get it? That bad boy there. The very, very last figure in the balance sheet. That is your capital employed. Mother of God, if you don't know what a capital employed is at this stage, you should be shot. Okay, so it's 1087. It's the balance in your balance sheet, okay? Multiply by 100, throw all that into the calculator, and you should get a total amount of 9.66% equals 9.66%. Is that okay, right? So what we want to do here, we want to have a look at the right, if we have a look here, 6% debentures. If it's higher than our 6% debentures, it means it's higher than our risk-free investments, okay? So that's kind of a good thing, right? This means that the shareholders get a higher reward from taking the risk from investing in the business, okay? So the profit before interest is used so that a comparison can be made between the business in terms of borrowing, okay? So this is a return from risk-free investments, which is higher than the 6%, which is ultimately good. Last working so, and it's there, price earnings ratio, okay? Or number there, last one, okay? V. Ratio is as follows. So very, very similar to dividend yield. We get the ratio, but we need to calculate another one in order to be able to do it successfully. Okay, so price earnings. Okay, and the formula is as follows. Market price of per share, market price per share, all over your earnings per share. And this is given in years, okay? Now, don't worry too much about it, okay? So, we have our market price. Where do we get the market price? There, right? Where are we? There. That's your market price per share. That's your selling market price. So, what we do have is, so I'm just going to do it over here, okay? So, the market price in this case is 135 cents. It's €1.35, right? But just make sure you put it down as 135 cents. We don't know this figure, right? We don't know this for the moment, okay? So, we need to find our earnings per share. How do we do it? There's a formula for it, and it is as follows. Right, net profit. We all know what net profit is. By God, you do. Minus preference dividend. All over your number of ordinary shares issued. Number of ordinary shares issued. And we don't have to multiply this by 100 because this is literally just a division option, okay? So the net profit, standard enough, we know where it's comes from, right? Net profit, 90,000, okay? So, 90. What are we dividing it by? What we to minus preference dividend. Where's our preference dividend here? There's no figure. But remember what did we do a while ago? We got 8% of what? 250,000. If I flick back the page, we just did it over here. So that fella there, right? 250 multiplied by 8, that's your preference dividend. It's the rate of percent on your issued preference shares. So 90,000 minus 20,000 all over number of ordinary shares issued. You definitely know how to get that one anyway. That fella there, 500,000. Throw all that into the calculator and you should get a total of 14 cent. Okay? Obviously earnings per share, it has to be given as a cent value. Okay? So 14 cent. Slot this figure back up here. Why? Because that's what we just needed to find out. So 135 divided by 14 and we get 9.64 years. Okay? Right? Price, that's based on the market value. That's how long it will take to recuperate at that market price. Okay, that's everything done there, right? 1 through 5. Now, what I want you to do in the next one is going to be the 2016 one. So I'll explain this to you now, right? It's going to be the same ratios. Only thing that's going to vary is instead of cash sales, we're looking for cash. So this is for 2016 as okay, cash purchases. And I want you to do this out. So this is the rate, this is the formula that you need. So again, it'll be trade creditors. Unless cash sales, it was trade debtors over credit sales. Cash purchases is the opposite, so it's trade creditors. Why? Because I'm purchasing from a creditor. All over credit purchases, okay? Multiply by 12, and I'm just going to tell you straight up that it's equal to 2 months. So whereas the last question was equal to 1. So basically that's the formula that you need. Now, you're not going to know this, okay? So you have to calculate, you have to find that out. Now, and once you get your credit purchases figure, what do you do after that? Okay, so think back, how do we do the cash sales, right? So we know our total purchases. Or do we? Sales. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I want you to do that out for me there. So, okay. So, total purchases minus credit equals cash. Okay. And any questions, get on to me.